So, for today's episode, which is the season finale of season one, we will be doing something a little bit different. Normally, you would be used to watching me interview people that have grown up in single parent homes and their lives and their experiences. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. So, a different perspective. So, for today's episode, we're actually going to interview a single parent, someone that raised two kids on her own, has been through it, lived through it, and everything else. And she's going to give us a little bit of an insight from her perspective of what it is. So, I'll get her to introduce herself to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Crystal. I'm a mother of two. Uh, I love baking and cooking, and most of all, being with my little Coco.
So, for those of you who actually don't know, Crystal is my mum. So, it's going to be a bit more of a personal episode, and we're going to get into, the nitty gritty things that we normally wouldn't talk about. I think where I want to start is your story, because even before you became a single parent, you had an interesting life. You went through a lot in life
Yeah.
and had to go through a lot of changes. So, if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
So I grew up in India with my mom and dad and four siblings. So growing up, my childhood was normal until uh, mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she was just 39, and it was very because I was just around 11, 12 years, and I had a little sister as well who I used to take care of because my I think elder sister was married, and she moved away, and my I think brother was a jockey, so most of the time he was not home. So like it was me having to do everything to help mom. So from that age, I think I used to cook and I used to do everything for mom. Um, and yeah, she had I think cancer for 16 years, and she think died at a very young age. She was just 55 when she passed. And a few years after mom passed, I lost my brother and my dad as well. While my grief is still fresh, I think I lost my husband at the age of 37. We were both 37. So that I think hit me like I think ton of bricks, and it was very hard because I had both these two girls, and they were pretty young, they're 6 and 11, and yeah, it was very hard to I think accept that
At a
at,
young
at,
age, yeah.
at in such a young age. So in order to give my kids a different environment, I moved to Australia, and yeah, it was not easy because like everything was new for us. Um, yeah, and the thing move was not easy. It was very this thing difficult because back home I was a thing stay-at-home mom, and I had to transition into having a career, and I think looking after the girls. So it it was I think totally different
Experience in
experience
itself.
itself.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is even people that know you, I
Yeah,
would say a lot of people that know you, they obviously know about dad passing and what we've been through, but they don't know about your backstory and what trauma happened
yeah,
prior.
yeah,
So it was almost like an additional
yeah,
trauma when this happened, right? And I think something I want to get into is how you dealt with that.
yeah.
And so when we did move and dealing with it mentally, dealing with it, physically,
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally, everything. So I think my question would be, what was the biggest struggles that you faced
Mhm.
in terms of a raising two girls by yourself,
Yeah,
going through the teenagers, all of that isn't easy when you have to play, both
yep,
parents, and then you've got the career responsibility on top of it and everything else. So you've transitioned into being the nurturer and the provider,
yeah.
which is a dual role, and you're in a new country, everything is different. And yes, you have family around, you have, support, everything else, but it's not the same as having that initial family unit.
So the hardest part for me was because I had like you all the same going to school, and I think I had to see that when you all I think got back from school, I was there. I needed to have a job that I think accommodated the needs that I have to be with you all when you all are home from school.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I think needed the thing money
Yeah.
so that I can send you all to school and give you all the education you all needed
Yeah.
and to support you all. So yeah, it was very hard.
Yeah. And I think something else that people don't realize
Mm-hmm.
when you grow up in a single parent environment, like for example, when you go through teenagers, you go through all of that, people tend to, there's always conflict in families, there's always issues and all of that. In a normal family dynamic, you would obviously have two parents where one can tap out if, the other is clashing with the child or having issues or whatever else. And I think what people fail to realize is the everyday reality when you've got financial pressure as a single parent and as the kid of a single parent.
Yep.
You've got your grief you're dealing with, and your grief is so different to what my grief was. I think there were times, obviously, like I said, you have the provider and the nurturer, the mum and the dad, and when that role becomes one,
Yeah.
you couldn't be there in ways that you could have been prior to when dad was alive. And part of that meant that, there were parts where we had to learn to grow up on our own and grow up quickly and be able to do all of that. But what came with that was a lot of mental pressure on both sides. And I know you and I have had our conflicts where we're very similar as people, as you know. So we tend to clash a lot. But I think something that I would say I'm grateful for is it took a while, but I think to be able to have communication and talk about these issues and understand the other person and what they're going through is not easy. And I think that's something that I really want to highlight because it doesn't get talked about enough, because that's our everyday. We could have one good day, 10 bad days, 10 good days, one bad day. And I think for you, what would you say helped your mental health to be able to get to a place where, you could communicate with me and I could, like, us being able to actually sit down without being angry or, you know, trying to figure out whose grief is more painful on the day or anything like that. What helped you get to that place?
Yeah. So, like I think, like you said, so if there's a household with, I think, two parents, there's always one that I think gives in to the kid, and the other one is a strict one. So, I had to do both. So, like for me, like I preferred being the thing strict, the sing parent.
Yeah.
The thing reason was because I think dad was not there,
Yeah.
and I think I had no choice. So I
Yeah.
thought I have to be all being girls, and there was no male member around. So what's this? I thought I have to think pull the reins, and I have to do the things that dad would have done.
Yeah. Which meant that we lacked the parent that was, would give in.
Exactly, yeah. But it's not that I think chose to do that.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
Yeah. Mm.
And there were I think times that I always thought to myself, am I think doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Because I think didn't want you all to feel that I was being rude to you.
Yeah.
But it was just that I think I want to do the right thing by all.
Yeah.
It was misunderstood.
I think one of the biggest things came from, I remember reading somewhere where it said it's your parents' first time living true.
Yeah.
And that for me made me go, okay, that makes sense. Like it made me look at it more from your perspective.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I was finally able to do that, that's when you started being able to understand me. And I think we finally came to a place where we could communicate so much better.
Yeah.
But I think that's so important to be able to do that as a child and as a parent. And I know recently we were having a conversation where you said about how, as a parent, when you make a mistake, you have to acknowledge it or accept it. Because if you can't accept it and acknowledge it, then A, what example are you setting? And B, how is the kid going to respond to that? You're not going to get the response that you want. And I think that's something that's really important, and I really wanted to shed a light on in this conversation. And I think my last question for you would be, what would be the advice that you would give a single parent that, went through what they went through? Because I think in terms of our lives, and the one thing I appreciated was, as much as you were strict with us, you also gave us the freedom. You gave us the freedom to travel overseas from a very young age and be able to experience life and do all of that. But at the same time, you kept us grounded in terms of always having gratitude, always being grateful to the people that have helped us along the way, being there for family, and and you never. I think you always made it a priority that like dad's family were in our lives, which I like have always appreciated. But I think being able to do all of that as a single parent is not easy sometimes. So, what would be the advice that you would give someone going through it right now? Like, if they went through what you went through at that age?
I would say, first of all, trust in God,
Yeah.
because for what we've been through all these years, it was only God that this thing carried us all this way. So I would say, like, always be being kind to people, and
Yeah.
if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I think I would say, like, always, I think, do good to people,
Yeah.
and most of all, don't expect anything in return.
Yeah.
So, and always, I think, try to help people, even if it's a smile, because you don't know how bad the day has been.
Yeah.
That might be the thing, one thing that I think lifts them up for that day. Also, I think you need to take care of your mental health, because that's the most important thing. Unless you're I think you are all right, and you are, I think, mentally stable, can you take care of your kids? And also, being able to think communicate with your kids, not as a parent but as a friend.
Yeah.
And I think always know that that you are always there for them, and that you've always got their back.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, always stay the same positive, because the where there's a will, there's a way. And like, dad would always say, that was his thing, famous line: you have to persist to succeed.
Yeah.
And I feel that is very, very true. And lastly, always have faith, and know everything will fall in place when the time is right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that insightful advice.
You're most welcome.
I really appreciate it. And, it's a different perspective. It's so people can actually see both sides of what it can look like. And I think today was probably more of a perspective of yours as well as mine,
Yeah.
and the dynamic and things like that. So thank you for helping me
You're
shed a
most
light on
welcome.
that. So thank you so much again. I appreciate it.